Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 002 of the What We Watched podcast. I am Matt Wozbinski. Sadly, my buddies JC and Chris cannot join us today. They are off doing real life stuff. Chris is getting married. JC should be getting married soon. That is not a spoiler. That is just something I hope that eventually someone will marry that guy. But we have a lot to talk about today. Today we are going to be mostly focusing on last night and the Oscars, and it was insane. It was a great show. Everyone overall did pretty well. The performances were great. I agreed with a lot of the awards, but we're going to break down what went well, what I disagreed with, and talk about especially the ending and the whole controversy of the envelope gate. So we will dive right into that. First off, what did the Oscars get right? I think that the majority of the awards actually turned out really, really well. I agreed with Moonlight winning Best Picture. I agreed with most of the actors, both and actresses supporting and in a leading role. One thing I really enjoyed about this Oscars was it kind of spread the wealth. So La La Land, which was coming in as the favorite to kind of sweep and win all these different things, got ended up with the most. They ended up with 6 awards, so they didn't sweep, but they ended up with the most, which is good because they were one of the best films of the year. But they failed to get things like Best Picture and Best Actress was one of the things that they won. But they didn't win either Best Actor, Best Supporting, or Best Supporting Actress. So I really liked how a lot of movies across the board got a lot of recognition. Normally you don't see that. You see one movie which kind of dominates a lot of the categories, and then that's how you get these big, massive numbers of winning several Academy Awards. While La La Land was the favorite because it won the most, it didn't win the ultimate prize, and it was able to still be a good movie, but a lot of other movies got recognition. Even a movie that I enjoyed that most people did not, which in Suicide Squad got a little bit of a shout out. I thought it was super funny. I saw my friend Sam Klein commented that the DC universe got an Oscar before the Marvel universe, which is hilarious because most people will admit that Marvel is on top of their game when it comes to comic book movies at this point in time. So the fact that they can now say the Oscar-winning Suicide Squad, that's just kind of a funny thing. But we see that often. When Leonardo DiCaprio, before he ever won one, he was kind of that running joke where you would have things where like 3-6 Mafia winning an Oscar before before Leonardo DiCaprio, where these they were really good in one in particular category when they would win over someone who obviously deserves it, but maybe it's just a stacked category. So I really enjoyed how the Oscars across the board supported several movies. It wasn't one movie just dominating the entire night, but it was several movies that said specifically, maybe it's for screenwriting, maybe it's for directing, but you did really well in this, and it kind of spread the wealth out. So I really enjoyed that. So best pick, actor, actress. Now let's go to some of the things that okay. So I'm also doing this on Facebook Live. If you don't follow me on Facebook, you need to become my friend. I would love to be your friend, but I'm also doing this on Facebook Live. And one of my friends, Justin McBurney, is getting mad at me, and so is Taylor Johnson. Also, Taylor Johnson needs to be on the show, and so is Justin McBurney. So if you guys ever want to come on the show, you are more than welcome, and we will argue. But they're saying that it doesn't count because it's for makeup, and but I would highly disagree with that. I would say that I don't believe that they should be nominated for Best Film or Best Directing, but you can be good at one in particular category, such as makeup, where they did fantastic. Things like Killer Croc. And you can even say, when it comes to things like Harley Quinn, that was a cultural phenomenon when it comes to the Harley Quinn thing. Harley Quinn was the Halloween costume of choice for a large majority of females this Halloween. And the reason was because it created such an iconic look. And while a lot of people really loved the original Harley look, it wouldn't really fit with what they were going for. So I do believe that you can be an Oscar-winning picture, and it's just sort of like how you have an asterisk, and then in really fine print, they'll say for makeup, but they can say the Academy Award-winning production. Taylor Johnson is also saying something about Brie Larson didn't clap for Casey Affleck, but I do. This is something actually that John Acuff pointed out to me that I was completely unaware of. That Casey Affleck recently was in some legal trouble with potential sexual assault of some kind, and so that was actually one of the reasons why he did a fantastic job apparently in Manchester by the Sea. Apparently, it's incredibly depressing. Sadly, the two movies I did not get to see fully were Moonlight and Manchester by the Sea. Those were the two where we just missed them. And so, but apparently it was a great film, but he did not have a lot of support in general from the actors because of that controversy and that thing that I honestly haven't looked too much into it and I haven't heard much about it, but that was one of the things online that was kind of building up. And yeah, so Taylor is saying that yes, it was because of the sexual harassment, and so I don't really know much about that, but that was one of the things where even in the speeches, it seemed like they were kind of trying to play him off a little bit and not make a big deal of him winning. That yes, he deserved to win because of his amazing accomplishment, but because of that, it was a little bit of we don't want to give you as much stage time as maybe Viola Davis got, or someone along those lines, where it's something where we're going to be showing this for forever, and we want this big acceptance speech. Thank you. Are you okay? So I have a friend, Taylor Johnson. He's a stand-up comedian, and he is fantastic. This is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but it is what it is. And so, one, if you are looking for a good entertainer of any kind for any event, look up Taylor Johnson, and he is fantastic. But he has got this habit of signing off things peace and love, and I'm assuming that's because he has been watching too much OJ. And OJ, another thing, OJ Made in America won Best Documentary, which that was another thing that Chris, another one of our contributors on What We Watched, had some arguments with. The fact that it won even though it was several hours long. And the way that they're able to do that is, I guess, the rule is if you at least show it in one film festival, which apparently they did. It was a 6, 7, 8 hour film that they showed at one film festival, so it counts as a documentary, even though it was produced by ESPN and was cut up into several parts and shown over several nights. So that one was kind of interesting because it feels a little bit more like a mini series, but because it was shown at least once in one big setting where you had to sit and watch the whole thing, it was eligible to be a best documentary. And I hear that that one is fantastic, and that's another one that I really do need to check out. Some of the things that I did not agree with when it comes to the Oscars is Moana. I thought that that was a really good film. I really did enjoy Zootopia. Zootopia was great. I thought that it tackled a lot of adult themes when it comes to prejudice, racism, stereotypes, without being too preachy, without being too forceful. But at the same time, Moana, I think 10 years from now is going to be still around, and it's going to be in that category of the Frozens, the Aladdins, the Beauty and the Beast, where it's not just going to kind of fade into the distance. While Zootopia, I do feel like people will pull it out every so often, but it's not going to be an all-time classic. And I really did enjoy that. I'm fine with them winning, Zootopia winning for animation, but I personally would have picked Moana. And also Kubo and the Two Strings, another one that I wasn't able to catch. But that seemed to be the dark horse of the night, where a lot of people said that you had to check it out, that you needed to watch it. And even though it was stop motion, which I think a lot of times turns a lot of people off, I do believe that a lot of people were really pulling for Kubo and thought that that one deserved to get some recognition. But Zootopia was a great film. And original song was probably my biggest peeve with the Oscars last night. How Far I'll Go is something that I will be singing for the rest of my life. It's the same that I will be singing Magic Carpet Ride and Whole New World and Part of Your World and all of these great Disney classics. I feel like that's going to be up there. And for me, City of Stars wasn't even the best out of the two songs. I thought that City of Stars was sort of the theme song for La La Land, so I understand why it gets a little bit more. But Audition was, in my opinion, much better. I thought that it was more of the deciding factor, the heart, the emotional punch of La La Land, while City of Stars was the catchy one that you're still humming when you leave the movie theater, but doesn't necessarily mean it's the better song. JC's mad at me because he could have podcasted with me today. I'm sorry, man. I decided to do this later. I'm going to have to edit this part out now, JC. Sorry. You can come on next time, or just yell at me from Facebook Live. That's totally fine. He's texting me now. JC's really mad at me now, but that's okay. Anywho, so those are some of the things that I really did enjoy about the Oscars and some things that I thought went really well. Now, it's true. Justin McBurney also is commenting about how City of Stars is about Hollywood and how Hollywood loves itself. That was another really interesting thing with Moonlight winning is La La Land, in most people's view, was a very easy layup as far as Oscar goes. As far as Academy Awards, if you make a movie about movies, you're pretty much going to win a lot of things if it's also a quality movie. And so a lot of people thought that Moonlight winning was a very good step in the direction of let's base films judged off of the film itself and not what is pandering most to what the voters want and what Hollywood as a whole would like to do. And so I also thought that was a really big deal for Moonlight winning. Welcome back to What We Watched. We are on episode 002. I am Matt Wozbinski, and we are talking about Oscars. In part one, we talked about what I liked, what I didn't like about the Oscars. And now we are going to go into what we need to now call Envelope Gate, which I hate naming things Envelope Gate because I feel like everything's based off of the Watergate scandal. And the problem with that is it was a Watergate hotel, so it wasn't like that was the scandal itself. But that's kind of a weird rabbit trail. So Envelope Gate, or whatever you would like to call it. Basically, what happened was last night, we are at the end of the show, the last award, and they announce the winner as La La Land. People are like, oh, shocked, I can't believe it. Woo! Chase, you need to... Oh, I hate you so much, Chase. Anyways. So everyone is shocked and they can't believe it. And so it takes a minute or two. La La Land comes up. Producers are giving acceptance speeches. And then someone says, we didn't win. And one of the producers comes up and he says, no, this is not a joke. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture. This is not a joke. I'm not kidding. He shows the audience the card that says Best Picture, Moonlight. And it turns out that Moonlight is actually who won the Best Picture. And it was chaos for about 2 to 3 minutes where La La Land's team is kind of still on stage and Moonlight is kind of off to the side, not really sure. Is this sort of like a symbolic gesture? Very much Adele, Beyonce, like, oh, you deserve it, so let's just kind of share this thing. But it legitimately was that Moonlight had won and La La Land had been called up as the winner. Now, let me explain how this works. Basically, when the Academy is voting, they tabulate them secretly, all the votes, and then there's actually a company who is in charge of tabulating these votes and putting the winners on the envelope, on the piece of paper, putting them in the envelopes, and then they're actually stored in a briefcase. The reason for this is because it's a live event. You don't want people, anyone knowing who won until the envelope is actually opened. So no one is supposed to know who is the actual winner until the envelope is opened and it is announced. Now here's the tricky part. What happens is they actually have two sets of briefcases that have 24 envelopes for the 24 different winners. And they have one on stage right and stage left, just depending on who is, which way the people are coming from and where they can pick up their envelopes, so they don't have to, meet in the center or go to one side or the other. And so there are two envelopes that both have the winners for every category. Now, here's where it gets tricky. There are only two people who actually know who the winners are, and they are hired by that company, and they memorize all of the winners. Their job is to know every single person before the envelope is open who won. And so their job is to make sure that maybe someone just disagrees with it, maybe someone wants to pull a prank, but if any point it is announced that someone won when they did not, it's supposed to be their job to go and fix the problem. But in the 80 plus years of the Oscars, this has never happened. They kind of have, they've said it's a contingency, but it's kind of all theoretical because there's no reason that would ever happen. But this time it happened. Apparently what happened was the Best Actress, Emma Stone, gave her speech. She had her envelope, and then on the other side of the stage was the other Best Actress envelope. So there were two of them. One was given for the actual presentation, and then one was mistakenly given instead of the Best Picture one. So by the time that they got out there, they opened the envelope, and it said Best Actress, Emma Stone, La La Land. So there was a little bit of confusion because it said La La Land, but it also said Emma Stone. You can tell that they're trying to stall a little bit, but I think that eventually they just grow impatient, and they thought that maybe it was a bit, and so they say La La Land, and apparently this is when backstage erupts, and everyone starts freaking out. Oh my gosh, they got the wrong envelope, and so they have to literally run up there and figure out what the heck is going on, because these two people who it's their job to memorize who actually won now have to jump into action for the first time in the history of the Academy Awards and say that they got it wrong. We need to make this stop. And the reason that they do this is because they don't want there being any physical evidence besides the envelopes that say who the winners are. People bet on these things, and just the live entertainment factor of it. So if you ever had a list just sitting out, someone could easily take a picture of it, someone could take that picture, tweet it out to the world, and now everyone knows, and the suspense is gone for the entire show. So it was kind of a weird comedy of errors, the whole fact that, one, the wrong envelope was handed out, two, that there are now two envelopes, which most people just did not know. I did not know about that until last night. Three, the fact that when they opened it, they decided to actually say La La Land instead of waiting and trying to figure out. I think that, that's really tough in a live atmosphere where, you're on live TV, there's an envelope. Do you turn around and do you ask, or are you like, this is the wrong thing? What do you do? And so it's kind of tough to kind of put yourself in that situation. And it was funny because last night there were a million conspiracy theories. The fact that one of the funniest ones I saw was that Leonardo DiCaprio was the last person seen holding the envelope for Best Actress. And so some people were saying that he intentionally handed off the wrong envelope to the next presenters, kind of as a ribbing for him taking so long to get his own Oscar. So there are all these different things that came out, but it looks like it was just sort of like you never would have guessed this happened. People just get the wrong envelope. One thing I will say is that La La Land really did a great job of not making it as awkward as it could have been. That could have been really uncomfortable. That could have been really unprofessional. And so for the producers of La La Land to say, hey, you guys won, and then Moonlight to come up and accept that award and be so gracious, because that was sort of kind of crummy for both movies. Winning Best Picture is probably one of the highlights of most of those people's lives, to work so hard on something and to be recognized for it. And so to have that and then get it taken away, and then also to think that you lost that, and now the story is a little bit more about the whole mixing up of the envelopes more than Moonlight being the best picture. So it kind of, I don't want to say it hurts it, because Moonlight is still getting plenty of praise, but it's not your stereotypical moment that you would picture. It's kind of half and half, even though Moonlight fully won it. It wasn't the big moment that they kind of hoped, where they were sitting, they were claimed to be the victors, and then they were able to go up, give a regular speech without all the confusion. But I do think it's also good for the Academy Awards, because that's one of the joys of live TV. The fact that now I think that more people are going to pay attention to Moonlight, and I don't know if that's just my opinion, but I feel like more people might pay attention to Moonlight, because now it toppled La La Land, which is sort of, like I said earlier in the podcast, an easy layup. Like it's just an easy film to pick as Best Picture. And so the fact that another film beat it, I think that's going to give it a lot of attention. And you're going to have a lot of people who are finding out about this, who didn't even watch the Oscars, and are now going to hear a lot more about just the name Moonlight and the film Moonlight than they would if it just won in regular fashion. Because I think this is going to be a story that has some holding power. So those were kind of the interesting parts of the Oscars. Overall, I thought that Jimmy Kimmel did really well hosting. I thought that he did a good job of, knowing his audience, and knowing that his audience is mostly a liberal, artistic community, while at the same time never really diving into offense. He had a few jokes about President Trump. He had a few, but nothing that was really cutting. And I feel like he had a very good balance. One of my favorite jokes that he said was, we are Hollywood. We don't judge you based on your gender or the color of your skin, or, what country you're from. We judge you by your age and your weight, like we're supposed to do. And I thought that was really funny, kind of just poking fun at how a lot of Hollywood is very PC, all equality, but then at the same time, that's a very well-known thing that depending on how you look or how old you are, you're specifically casted for specific roles. So I thought he did a very good job of balancing both of those. Still being, about equality and taking some shots at the president and at politicians in general, while at the same time also poking fun at himself and having a good time while doing so. So I thought that he did a really good job and handled it very well. He did what a host should do. He really helped the show move along. He had some bits, but he didn't become the point of the show, which I think is very important when it comes to hosting these sort of things. I think that a lot of times you can get so caught up in trying to be funny that you kind of just take away from the entire event. So I really did enjoy the fact that he did a really good job. But that is kind of my overall look at the Oscars, and I am wondering, what did you guys think of it? What did you think deserved the praise that it got, and what do you think maybe got snubbed a little bit? The one thing that I feel like should have gotten a little bit more attention was Lion. Once again, if you have not seen Lion, that was probably one of it wasn't the best film of the year, but it was the one that emotionally impacted me more than any film I've seen in a very long time. So it had its flaws, but I would still say it was by far one of the best films that I've seen in a very long time. So I was kind of hoping that they would have won, probably not for Best Picture or even supporting actor, because I thought that he did well, but that was a very heavy category. And I would definitely say that I was hoping it would have won maybe in Best Adapted Screenplay or something along those lines. But that was kind of my big disappointment, that and the fact that How Far I'll Go did not win Best Song. But I want to know, what did you guys think? What did you like? What did you think should have won? Let me know in the comments down below, or feel free to tweet me at RealMattWaz, or tweet us at what we watched on Twitter, and let me know what you guys thought. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What We Watched, episode 002. Earlier in the podcast, we talked about the Oscars, what we liked, what we didn't like, and so if you are just now tuning in, be sure to check that out, or check that out in another video. But we are about to talk about the month of March. February is gone, and we are now going to talk about March, and how March has the potential to be one of the best months of movies that we have seen in a very long time. Normally, March is kind of a dead zone. January, February, and then the beginning of March is when movies actually normally start to come out. For those who aren't super into movies, the reason for that is because to be nominated for an Oscar, you need to be released in a studio or in a theater, in that calendar year. And so what it used to be is November, December, you have the Christmas boom, people are out for the holidays, and you have all these movies being released for Oscar consideration, because you want to be released as late as possible to be considered, because you just want to be fresh on the voters' mind, you want to be fresh in the public's mind. So the later in the year you can get released, the better. That's why I was talking to Ashley about it, my wife, and she kind of forgot that some of these movies that were nominated actually came out this year, things like Jungle Book, because they had happened so earlier in the year. And there's reasons for that. If you want an Oscar, you typically need to be released in the last 2 to 3 months, on a big scale at least, to be considered, because you want to be fresh on everyone's minds. And so normally January and February were kind of like the wastelands of movies. It was when you released movies that you had made and you knew probably weren't that great. Animated kids movies, bland action movies, that sort of stuff, where you made a movie and you had to make money off it, but you didn't necessarily want to compete with other movies. January and February were kind of the great time to do that, because everyone kind of unloaded all their good movies in the later part of the end of the year. And so, but we're starting to see a very interesting trend where January is actually becoming a really great time for movies, because people are pushing that Oscar date later and later and later. And we saw with films like Live by Night, which actually didn't even get nominated for anything, that that studios will do small releases of movies in December. And we saw like Live by Night was only shown in, I believe, 4 theaters in December. And then it got a larger release in January. And the reason that they did that was so that they could say that they were released in the 2016 year. And so they could be considered for a 2016 Oscar. And but what happens is a lot of times, a lot of these Oscar movies get released in December, and then the general viewing public, unless you're living in a major city, don't get them until January, which I like and I don't like, because then I get a big rush. That's why I was unable to see all the movies, especially when there's 9 Best Picture nominations. But I wasn't able to see all the movies because they all start coming out in January. It is nice, though, because then I can see some in December. Star Wars is kind of starting to lock in a little bit on that Christmas time release. But also Oscar movies, some will come out in December, and then some will slowly trickle into your theaters in January and February. And so, but typically January and February are kind of like a dead season, and March kind of gets affected by that a little bit. But we are getting into the point where the space for movies are way too crowded. To give you guys a little bit of a breakdown, when movies are released is not accidental at all. It's completely intentional. That's why they know what movies are coming out in 2018, 19, 2020, because it takes so long to make movies, and you want to be kind of first person to claim that territory or that weekend. Because so much of your box office return is based off of when you are released. So if you are getting released the same time, the same weekend as the Star Wars movie, your movie is going to make considerably less because people just don't go to the movies that much. They might go to one movie a month if you're a real big, and even then, that might be a lot. But even if you're a big movie buff, you normally will pick one movie a week. And so to be king of that mountain, you need to release your movies at a good time. And so what we're seeing is that the summer blockbusters are actually starting to come out really early, and they're starting to come out in the month of March. And March is actually a really interesting time this year because we have three movies week after week after week that are coming out. So they're not necessarily battling head to head, but we could see three different number one movies 3 weeks in a row, and that's very rare because when you plan out your movie release schedule, you want to be the number one movie for as long as possible. You want to be the thing that people are going to the movies and going back to see for several weeks if possible. So we're just going to run down the month of March and look at all these great movies that we have coming out. So the first one that we have up is Logan, which actually comes out this weekend. For those that don't know, Logan is the final air quotes movie for Wolverine, or at least this interpretation of Wolverine. It's based loosely off of the graphic novel Old Man Logan. And what it's basically about is Wolverine as an old, aging, a man who's in the last phases of his life, and he's protecting a young mutant. And it appears that mutants are sort of almost extinct at this point, and maybe even hunted down to a point. It's a very dystopia, very apocalyptic view of the X-Men universe. And we're going to see a much more worn down, not as energetic Wolverine in this movie. And it's also the first X-Men that's rated R because of the violence. It's going for a much more gritty tone. It's going for a much more realistic, not a fun-loving comic book movie. For those who might have maybe kids or something who think, oh, it's an X-Men movie, like you might want to just check this one out by yourself first. I'm really excited for it. I think that this is a really interesting take, especially on Wolverine, who is a very, blunt character. And I think that it could be done very, very well. We've seen with the Dark Knight trilogy and some other superhero movies that this is a topic that can be taken seriously. This is a topic that doesn't need to be bright and flashy, and but can have a little bit of a darker tint to it. And so I'm really excited to see Logan, and I think that it will do really well and easily win the weekend. What we have after that is actually Kong Skull Island, and in this world of shared universes, Kong Skull Island is going to, if it does well, and I think that it will, is going to actually bleed into the new Godzilla movies. Their eventual long-term goal, like I said earlier, their goals are to make this a universe, make this a franchise, and what they're going to do is they're going to have a Godzilla movie, a Kong movie, probably another Godzilla movie, and then eventually they're going to try to make those two, a Godzilla versus King Kong movie. And so this one is Kong Skull Island. It has a lot of really, really amazing talent from directing to acting. It's going to be a very good visual film. It has a very Apocalypse Now kind of vibe to it, very visually appealing. The last trailer actually just dropped Monday morning, and so it looks like it's going to be very good, and I would be very surprised if it doesn't come out as the number one movie that week, which is also interesting because Logan, comic book movie, and Kong Skull Island probably share a lot of the same demographics, so it'll be interesting to see if Logan, after having a really great weekend, I'm sure this weekend is going to drop significantly because people are going to go see Kong Skull Island. Now, the third movie, the next week after Kong Skull Island, is one that I personally am looking forward to very much, and it's Beauty and the Beast, the live adaptation of the classic film, the Walt Disney film. And I think that this is going to be amazing. I really, truly think that this is going to be. When I saw Jungle Book and saw what they were able to do, it blew me away. It was really, really good. The whole fact that they were able to do that whole thing basically in a studio, but make you feel like you were in a jungle, it was incredible. And it just won an Academy Award. So that's really good as well. But what I will say is I was not on board with all these live action remakes that they're doing. I thought that it was just an easy cash grab, and I just wasn't a big fan. And I think that I'm on board now. After seeing Jungle Book, I was really, really impressed what they were able to do. And I think that Beauty and the Beast is going to be just another great addition to the Disney library. I think that the acting and the people that they chose, from Belle to Gaston to the Beast, I think that they really captured, based on what I've seen in trailers and sneak peeks, what the heart of the movie is about, and I think that they're going to do a very good job. And so this is the one that I'm really curious to see, because this is one where the target market is vastly different than the other two. So Logan and Kong Skull Island are going to be fighting each other a little bit, but I have a feeling that Beauty and the Beast, because everyone from a 6-year-old who wants to dress up like Princess Belle, to someone who is 50, 60, 70 is going to enjoy Beauty and the Beast, while that's not necessarily the case with Logan or Kong Skull Island. I also think that Logan's going to take a hit because it's rated R, and so that also limits your audience a little bit. But I think that Beauty and the Beast is probably going to do the best out of these three, just because it has such a wide spectrum of people. You have people like me, who are males in their 20s, and I'm sure that there's lots of you guys out there, right? Males in your 20s that are super psyched about Beauty and the Beast. But I do think it hits the nostalgia factor. I think it hits just the fun family factor. And so I think it's going to do the best out of these three. And then I think that Kong Skull Island also has a really good opportunity in that PG-13 range of hitting a lot of targets. And I think that it can get, with Brie Larson as one of the leads, I think it can get a lot of females to come to the movie as well, just because it has a strong female lead that a lot of people, she just won Best Actress last year at the Academy Awards. So good quality acting in it. Not just your typical big monster crush buildings movie. So I'm really, really excited for those movies, and I cannot wait to see them all. So let me know in the comments down below, or feel free to tweet me at RealMattWaz, or tweet us at the show at What We Watched on Twitter. Let us know what movies that you are excited to see, whether it's Beauty and the Beast, Kong Skull Island, or Logan, or maybe another movie that is slipping under the radar and being overshadowed by these. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to let us know in the comments down below what you think. Thank you so much for tuning in to the What We Watch podcast. As always, you can find me on Twitter at RealMattWaz. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Also, you can check us out at whatwewatched.com. We have news articles, blogs, and if you are interested in either writing for whatwewatched.com, we would love for your input. Feel free to let us know that you would love to be a part of the team. If you would love to be a part of one of these podcasts or these videos, we have room for you. Even if you are new to maybe reviewing, we are looking for people to review movies, books, anything, WWE, sports, whatever you're passionate about, we have a spot for you. And so be sure to reach out to us, let us know. You can find us, once again, at RealMattWaz on Twitter and at What We Watched on Twitter. Also be sure, www.whatwewatched.com. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. I am Matt Wazbinski, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.